Chapter 3, the foundation for scaling. So in the last chapter, I took you through navigating compliance, just all the heartache, headache, and the learning curve we had to go up to figure out how to become compliant. And again, I'm going to show you the results of that in a minute. And so in this chapter, I want to talk about the foundation for scaling. And this is your next gold nugget, something I want you to always remember when you're running our traffic, when you're working on any ad campaigns that we're doing. And that is that it only takes one marketing campaign to change everything. I want to be very, very clear about this. The first company that I ran, done a few deals, when we did software for real estate investors, it was one. It was one webinar sequence. That was it. That's how we scaled from nothing to at the height, tracking it around 7 figures, okay? When I worked for the other real estate company that I helped scale, it was one. We scaled that company 3x into multiple millions of dollars on one evergreen campaign, evergreen webinar that worked like crazy. That's it. Okay. And so I want to be clear about this because what happened, to be honest, when after all this compliance thing, just as a marketer, just so threw off my confidence, so threw off my mindset that when we started to run again Facebook traffic, when we started doing things, I was just like, well, let me try download it, let me try this, and let me try that, and and I was focusing on way too many things as opposed to realizing, you know, it's only one marketing campaign. And when you can get the one marketing campaign, that's what we focus on. That's where we find and we put up a massive pillar for scaling. And until that pillar is established and it's significant, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of leads, we're not going to start trying to set up other little marketing campaigns. Well, this one will get us 3 leads a day and this one will get us, like, don't care. That's not what moves the needle, right? Ultimately, it's great if we could have 2, 3 amazing campaigns running continuously to cold traffic, which we have done and are doing, but it all starts with just one campaign. So don't try to focus on 10 different things. Get one campaign. One campaign will change everything. One campaign can change an entire product division, can change our business, and it has. Okay, and so I realized, at this point, again, going back in time, this is about a year and a half ago, I was trying some downloads and generating some leads here or there, doing the compliance. I was trying a little this and that, but I realized, we needed to just have one campaign that we really focused on. And so what I had seen in both the best practices of my own as well as what's happening in the market, there really are 3 things that work really, really well. Webinars, whether live or evergreen, free downloads work really, really well, at least in terms of compliance, are very popular. And again, I say you work well when you see somebody advertising the same thing for months and months and months and months. They're not spending tons of money on Facebook if they're losing money, right? They're doing it and continuing because it's working. Or doing a video series has worked really, really well. And we've done video series very, very successfully. It's one of Todd's fortes, and it's how we've launched a lot of products and businesses. And so the model doesn't really matter, just to be clear. It's all about the messaging, right? We know that. We've proven that out. It's all about the messaging, the idea, the hook, the offer, nailing all those components. But we had to make a decision. And so our decision was, let's go with a webinar. I made that decision because even though it's not what Todd is the biggest fan of, he loves the 4-part video series. I said, listen, I've scaled webinars before. I want to have as few variables as possible based upon how shaky things have been because of Facebook and compliance issues. Let's go with a webinar. And so we decided to go with a webinar. We actually started with live webinars for E5 Camp, and then we moved to Evergreen. And so how do we know we had the bullet? How do we know that we had a campaign worth running to cold traffic? Because that's a really big thing, because you can't start running ad campaigns with so many unproven variables, right? You can't go, well, the marketing funnel's not proven, and I'm not sure what audience, and I'm not sure what ads, and now you have 3 different variables. You can't just throw that out there. Like, we'll burn money like crazy. We won't get anywhere. And so we had to start with something, a marketing campaign that has a track record that's proven in some way, so that we can know what to focus on with scaling. And so when we built out our campaigns and we built out this webinar and this offer, we said, if the price per, is over $2,000 for every 200 leads, even if we got 1.5 sales, so that's less than a 1% conversion rate. Again, we always use bad numbers. Whenever we do hypotheticals projections, we use bad numbers. That means that I could spend $15 per lead and win. And when I say win means that we're acquiring new customers and new leads, and we're breaking even, right? That's right. If we can do that, we'll do that all day, right? Because ultimately those customers will become back end, and ultimately those unconverted leads, they might take 3 months, 6 months, 9 months to become a new buyer, but they will. And so we'll spend $1,000, $10,000 a day if we know that we can break even. And so when I looked at the offer and the campaign we structured, I said, wow, with bad numbers, we can win at $15 a lead. And I've known from both the campaigns that got shut off as well as other campaigns I've run, I know that getting below $15 a lead is something that's possible. And in the real world, when we ran this campaign, this webinar for the first time to our house list, now granted, it's our house list, they're warmer leads, they included some buyers already. We saw that webinar registrants were being generated at an average of $30 to $40, okay? And so even taking a bigger picture, we saw annual stats. We saw that a new lead was worth about $20 to $25 to us in our business. And so together, right, looking at bad math and saying, wow, hypothetically this, with bad numbers, based on bad numbers, knowing what we've done in the past and assuming the worst case scenario, we could pay $15 a person into this webinar. To our house list, we saw that we were generating about $30 to $40 into this webinar. And looking over an entire year, we saw that in general, a new lead into our world, right? Teddy ran these stats when he looked over all our records for an entire year, is worth $20 to $25. All that made me sit back and say, wow, so I can be at around, I know I can get leads under $15. Like, I know I can figure that out. I've done that before. I know that's reasonable ad cost, right? If it said I got to get leads for under $4, I'd be like, whoa, that's not going to fly. Even $5, $6, that's rough. But I knew that under 15 would work. And a little gold nugget here is we then, before we went live with this, we went with a thank you page offer, which was amazing. And so the thank you page offer we threw on the webinar was just a little $97 offer. However, we saw about a 2% take rate. And so what that 2% did was it immediately generated $2 per lead on average, which means every time we generated leads into our campaign, webinar registrants, even if we were paying, let's say we were paying $10 a lead, well, immediately that became $8 because of the thank you page offer, what that thank you page offer was generating for us. If we were at 12, it brought us down to 10. And so that made the numbers even that much more favorable. Again, setting the foundation for scaling, right? You can't scale. And we tried this. We had a free shipping offer that we were trying to cold traffic, and the numbers just weren't working out. Like the numbers that we'd have to hit to scale were just too difficult. It was like, man, we gotta like thread a piece of thread through the eye of the needle to be able to scale. And so this gave us a lot of room. We knew we built a winning campaign because we saw like, wow, being able to say, hey, we need to generate a high volume of leads at under $15 a lead. Okay, like that's possible. That's doable because of the strength of the campaign, the marketing message you offer, and just the enormous amount of work that we put into that. And so getting ready to scale, you have to have a target. And so I want to talk about ROI versus CPL. And so let me be very, very clear. At the end of the day, it is all about ROI. It's all about return on investment, right? That is what matters, okay, from a conversion perspective. And Todd and I always talk about this, how he's a conversion guy, I'm a traffic guy, which is great because, right, this whole business is traffic and conversion, right? If you can get the traffic and you know how to convert them, you will have a highly successful business. So we do see things a little bit differently. And so I don't want to undermine or discredit ROI, because Todd's 100% right. And at the end of the day, we don't care about how much cost per lead or cost per click. None of that matters, right? At the end of the day, if we know that we're hitting our ROI goals, we can scale aggressively and rapidly and profitably with healthy cash flow and all that good stuff, as long as the ROI is there. However, when we're testing out campaigns and starting new things and scaling and building up, right, from nothing to a high scale, high volume of traffic, there are shortfalls to ROI. First of all, the target is too far for small audiences with a high ticket. And so, for example, with a $2,000 product, statistical significance is, hey, I probably need to spend, I usually say double, right? Double. So I need to spend about $4,000 to see if the ROI is there. And that's just, man, we would forget about it. We would go bankrupt if we were doing that, right? If every time I set up one new ad to one new audience, I said, I got to sit back and can't touch it till we spend $4,000. Doesn't matter if we're paying $70 a lead. Got to spend $4,000 before we decide if it's a winner or not. Doesn't work, right? We needed a target that was much closer to hit. And so ROI is not only far away for small audiences, right? Even for a small audience to be able to say, even, some audiences to spend $4,000 might take us a month and a half, because there's just not that much traffic. It's a small little target. And it takes way too long to know if we're winning or losing. And so for us, what we were able to do is to say, let's focus on cost per lead, CPL, because I know literally within 48 hours of putting an ad up, actually 72 hours, because as a very, very wise, amazing guy told me, if you don't see it on Facebook for 72 hours, don't follow it. That was Kurt Molly, brilliant, brilliant guy. Said, don't believe anything unless you see it for 72 hours. So within 72 hours, we can know the CPL is either in range or off target. Either shut the ad, stop wasting money, or we're good to go, get ready to scale, okay? And so in the short term, we always look at CPL. Now we do every month or so, every quarter, we'll do an ROI, and sometimes we'll go, wow, we can spend a lot more on traffic than we thought we could, or these are, we just held a great event and we realized that all these people wanted to get into our high-level programs, and wow, a lot of them came from Facebook. That's amazing, and we realized that new leads and customers are worth even more than we thought before. And so we do look at ROI, but in terms of a traffic, as an operator in traffic, we needed a closer target, and so we picked CPL. Now, I might feel a little bit differently if we were doing a $17 product or a $47 product. I might say, you know what, I can afford to spend $100 to $200 per campaign and say, hey, is the ROI there? Did I get a new customer or not? And so we have tried that with other offers, and we will take that strategy. But for us, right now, where we are, what's working, it's all about CPL, and then every month to 2 months, certainly looking at the ROI of those leads. And so in the next chapter, I will talk to you about what happened next. So we got some compliant ads. We laid the foundation for scaling. I'll talk about how we set everything up, and then we'll just keep moving forward together.